Welcome. Good morning and welcome to the Oregon Business Plan's Aviation Cluster meeting. We are the Oregon Business Plan's cluster representative for aviation. And this is part of a series that the Oregon Business Plan is holding this year online in lieu of their 2020 summit, which would typically be held out at the convention center. My name is Jake Jacobs. I'm the Executive Director of Oregon Aviation Industries, and along with me is Mark Gardner, our Board Chair. And after a couple comments by the two of us, we'll move into the 6 industry executives who will talk about their organizations and their organization's values to the state of Oregon. First, a little about Oregon Aviation Industries, or RAVI. As I mentioned, Oregon Business Plan created several clusters through the Oregon Business Council: food services, aviation, manufacturing, and so we represent aviation to that group. We normally have 1,000 attendees at the convention center every year, and then they break out into sessions. So we're one of the breakouts focused on aviation. We're comprised of 100 corporate members statewide. We've been around for nearly 7 years doing this, and we're focused on aviation economic development, positive aviation legislation, and we'd like to see some future air service to our rural communities, especially as new technologies and electric aircraft come along to make it affordable. Keep in touch with our customers, with our members, and the community and other groups through communications, our website, www.ravi.org, and through our annual summits and meetings at our members' facilities. Last year, for our annual summit, which was in November, we featured the House Chairman of the Transportation Committee, U.S., Peter DeFazio, Representative Peter DeFazio. Good turnout, a lot of good information. In 2015, we worked very hard and diligently to assist in the passage of an aviation bill that brought in so far about $15 million for aviation infrastructure and maintenance, which is managed by the Oregon Department of Aviation. And we're currently working with the Joint Transportation Committee in Oregon to keep that extended beyond its sunset of next year. At this point, we want to get a general and broad overview of aviation before we begin with our individual speakers around the state. And so we would like to ask Mark Gardner, our board chair, who's also the former board chair for 8 years of the Oregon Department of Aviation. Take it away, Mark.
Thanks, Jake, and welcome all. Good morning. Aviation is a major and rapidly growing Oregon industry. 100,000 jobs direct and 200,000 plus indirect in total, an economic impact of more than $10 billion a year. It's a diverse industry: transportation, of course, passenger and cargo, but also aircraft maintenance, training, airframes, components, avionics, heavy lift helicopters, general aviation aircraft and equipment and accessories, public safety, firefighting, etc., airfield systems and equipment, and of course, unmanned aerial vehicles and systems. It's also distributed across the state. We've got Boeing and Precision Castparts, Rockwell, Vans, Columbia, HTS, Oregon Aero, etc. in the Portland area, Erickson Aircrane and others in Southern Oregon. We've got multiple aircraft and equipment manufacturers in Central Oregon, UAV propulsion systems in McMinnville, Electro, aircraft tugs in Astoria, UAVs in the Gorge, Pendleton, Warm Springs, and Tillamook, Garmin, and Salem, and of course, 97 public use airports, 57 of those airports in the National Air Transportation System. And it's an industry of market leaders. Fastest growing Oregon advanced manufacturing sector, according to Business Oregon, with 51% employment growth over the last 10 years, and outstanding growth also in competitive market share gain and industry innovation. And Oregon companies hold national and international market leadership in advanced metals used in aviation, kit aircraft, composite aircraft and component manufacturing, airfield systems and equipment, heavy lift helicopters, search detection and navigation systems, and UAV and UAV related systems. and a significant contribution statewide to employment and GDP, because much of the aviation industry is traded sector, exporting to national and international markets, and high wage jobs. So today we have a cross-section of industry leaders who will provide insight on the breadth of Oregon aviation's industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Much appreciated. To summarize a couple things graphically that Mark mentioned, we have 97 public use airports in Oregon. Most people are only familiar with 4 or 5 of them, the passenger ones. But we have such things as Life Flight for emergency services spread around the state, Angel Flight for non-emergency free flights, firefighting, flight training, emergency preparedness. We've spent a lot of time with Cascadia subduction planning as to what airports would be put into use. Tourism's a big factor. Package deliveries coming along really well with the traditional ones, and sooner or later with drones. And medical supplies are being delivered pretty frequently right now. Business aircraft and private aircraft are based at these airports. We have over 4,000 business and private aircraft in the state, and a lot of airport businesses at airports, because an airport can become an economic development engine for the community. Over on the left, we've got about 400 airports in the state. A lot of those are private grass strips on farmers' fields. 370 of them are private. But 97 of them are public use, so any of us can fly into those. I've been into over 100 myself. 68 of the airports are owned by a municipality, a city, state, or a private owner. 27 are owned by the state, and 57 airports can receive a 90-10 grant match from the FAA. They are airports of a large enough size to be qualified. We want to start with an airport that's familiar to all of us, an airport that we love, our favorite airport in the United States of America. So today, the Chief Operating Officer, Dan Peppinger of the Port of Portland, will give us an update on PDX. Dan?
Thanks very much, and thank you all for having me. I'm honored to be here amongst you. Happy to be here again. Just a reminder that I was interested in how you categorize PDX, Hillsborough, and Troutdale, because the port is actually a special district of the state, not a municipal organization. Besides the 3 airports, we have 4 marine terminals and 5 industrial parks. So just a reminder of kind of the breadth of the Port of Portland. At PDX, which is what I'm going to talk about specifically, and I'll leave general aviation off because I know that's going to be a topic in a little bit at PDX. PDX itself, a recent economic study indicated that we generate about 17,700 jobs. We have over $1 billion in income related to the activity at PDX, and about $4.9 billion in business revenue. We were on track. I'll talk in a very pre-COVID and post-COVID frame for you. Last year in 2019, we were over 19 million passengers, and we were well on track to break 20 million in 2020. However, that is not going to happen. And we have about 272,000 tons of cargo last year, and over 230,000 operations, which includes both commercial, general aviation, and of course the Oregon Air National Guard, which has a base here at PDX as well. So things were looking great, but unfortunately things are not business as usual. I remember it was February 29th, if you can remember back that far, and COVID was popping up in Seattle. And we stood up our emergency operations center on the 29th of February. And by mid-March, start seeing steep declines in passenger traffic at PDX. In April and May, year over year, we were down over 95% of enplaned passengers. We've stabilized now at about 68% down, 68 to 70% down. And we kind of see that we're going to be in that for a while until there's a vaccine. The terminal was pretty busy today. I was happy to see that. It's steady, but it's certainly nothing like it was before. And as you can imagine, this has been devastating to both the airlines, concessionaires, and other service providers at the airport. Overall revenue at PDX is down about 72 to 74% across a number of measurables, including concessions revenue, rental car operations, parking, etc. So it's a real tough spot we find ourselves in right now. Business travel has essentially evaporated. The travel we're seeing now is primarily leisure travel. So there's a group of people out there willing to travel and able to travel, and both airlines and airports have been working very hard to provide the confidence and protocols to keep people safe and have confidence in the commercial aviation system. We've also, a big challenge for us also has been both international travel restrictions on the United States, travel restrictions we've placed on other countries as well. And then I think another challenge for us is what I'll call kind of a hodgepodge of state approaches to whether you need to quarantine. As testing comes on, you can take a test and avoid the quarantine. States since March have had all sorts of interesting approaches to this. At one point in Texas, the Texas Rangers met planes when they came off and handed out notes to everybody traveling from New York that you had to quarantine. That no longer exists today, but New York now has a list of states that you have to quarantine if you come from to go there. So it's challenging for people to make plans and travel commercially when they're not sure what the rules are around the country. You know, at PDX, we took a lot of actions right away. I'll start with kind of the, I'll call it operational adjustment. We required face coverings as soon as the CDC noted that they were effective. We've done social distancing in terms of closing kiosks, bag drops, things like that. Remove seating. Our concessions program had to adapt to the governor's orders on restaurants and bars. We've been super flexible with the hours. Over half our concessions have reopened, but there's a number of them that are still closed, and both it's a choice because they just can't make enough revenue to cover the cost, and some, like the Dragon Tree Spa, is closed by the governor's order. Just it's not a activity that's allowed. We also closed a lot of remote facilities, right? We don't have remote parking except for one small economy lot now to save on busing costs. We brought everybody into the garages now because we have the capacity. And we've done steep O&M cuts, both with our service providers and also with port staff as well, with a furlough program, hiring freezes, et cetera, and also readjusted our capital program. I'm going to address the capital program at the end of the presentation. What I'm talking about adjusting our capital program is the normal asset renewal. We're actually in the midst of a large program at PDX that I'll talk about at the end that's still moving ahead. So we adapted to all this. We also received $72 million in CARES Act money from the federal government, and we have broken that out over 2 fiscal years and used it really for 3 primary purposes. The first was just to stabilize the finances of the port itself. The second is to make sure we can meet our debt payment obligations. I think many of you know that airports are funded primarily on the air side by the airlines themselves. And as the Port Authority, we go borrow the money, do the capital improvements, and the airlines pay that back over time. So those debt obligations are out there into the future. And then finally, to provide relief and assistance to our partners. And that would be primarily the airlines themselves, the concessions programs within the terminal, and then the rental car operations, which are on the land side of the airport. Here's a great map in August of 2019. You can see that we had 16 carriers at PDX, 67 destinations, and average daily seat departures were approaching 37,000 seats a day. Of particular note, I think that we try very hard at PDX for is international service that supports a lot of the local businesses, especially in the metro area. And that included nonstop service directly to Amsterdam on Delta Airlines and to Tokyo, also on Delta Airlines, as well as flights to Canada and Mexico that were daily and year round. We also had seasonal summer service to Europe on Delta to London, Iceland Air to Reykjavik, and Condor to Frankfurt. And we were welcoming British Airways for the first time ever to PDX for a nonstop to London Heathrow that was supposed to start this spring. All of those international flights are, all of the transoceanic international flights are no longer in service right now. So I'm going to bring you forward to August of 2020. And you can see that it's a lot less. We're down 62% seats in average daily departures. Although we are seeing some markets come back in, and we do have flights to Guadalajara and Vancouver, BC for international travel right now. But you can see the effect of the pandemic on travel. I think what is important to note is the airlines are still adjusting schedule. They continue to be optimistic and publish schedules and sell tickets, but then they have continued to need to find room to adjust those schedules and reduce flights capacity. My personal feeling is this isn't going to change a whole lot until there's an effective vaccine out there, but we're pleased with the service we have today, and we're working our way through that. One bright spot has been air cargo. We have grown air cargo this year by over 7.5%. Mainly domestic air cargo is up over 10%, but we also have international freighter service to Asia. So the demand of e-commerce is driving activity at the airport, and we're pleased to see that. Even with the pandemic as it wanes, I'm not sure we'll see a real shift in this. We're kind of interested to see whether air cargo will keep its kind of robust growth going. The final thing I just wanted to touch on was what we call our PDX Next program. It's really a major expansion of PDX. It consists of, well, we'll call it 5 projects here. It's over $2 billion in capital investment. I'll just talk about 3 of the projects. Well, I guess I'll talk about 4 of them quickly, but if you'll look on the screen, the center upper, the one is the Concourse E extension. We also call that the terminal balancing project. We have completed and opened a 6-gate expansion of Concourse E. And we have moved Southwest Airlines from the south side of the airport to the north side of the airport into that new facility. And while we needed the gates for growth, it also balances the passenger load on the airport 50% to the north and 50% to the south. And when you think about the baggage handling system, both coming and going, ticket counters, security checkpoints, and concession programs, it corrects what we had, which was an imbalance of 70% of our activity on the south side of the airport. The second project I want to talk about is just to the right of that. It's listed as number 3, parking additions and consolidated rental cars. We're building a new parking garage right now in that facility, and also a 5-story office building to go with it. On the first 2 floors of the office building, it's a 2-story volume, will be all of the rental car operators at PDX. We're consolidating them on terminal. Some of them were remote before, so we're eliminating any rental car shuttle busing, and we'll have all of the rental cars on facility in the first 3 floors of that facility. The top 3 floors will be public parking. What this also allows us to do is 2 key things. The first is it allows us to get transportation network companies like Uber and Lyft off of the roadway and into the first floor of the existing 2 garages that you can see in white in the center of the slide to reduce congestion at the curbside. Secondly, that office building I mentioned, the upper floors of that will house the port's police department, our emergency operations center, our communications center, also the Transportation Security Administration and their regional operations center as well. And the reason that's important to us is we need to move them out of the terminal core area, the central processing area, because that's where we're doing the large terminal core project. I'll just touch briefly on the Concourse B redevelopment at the bottom. We have demolished Concourse A so those of you that have flown through and taken the Alaska shuttle to parts of Oregon, Idaho, or up to Seattle. That concourse is no longer with us. My sister, when she connects through the airport, used to call me and ask me how we could be America's best airport with Concourse A. So we're happy it's gone. We don't miss it. But we're expanding the Concourse B, which will have 6 ground load gates for Alaska. They're shifting from the Q400 to the E175 primarily over time, and that'll be a nice new facility. But the main show is this main new terminal to the left, where we'll be expanding the main central processing part of the airport into the alleyway and permanently removing 2 interior jet bridge gates. This project itself is $1.65 billion. A lot of the enabling work is already underway, and we're at about 60% design on it. It's big, and it really has 5 primary goals. The first was capacity. It's to help us grow to 32 million annual passengers from our 1920 right now. Obviously, that timeline has slowed down with the pandemic, but we also had a huge amount of asset renewal to do in the building, over $215 million worth of just mechanical and electrical systems that need to be replaced in the next 10 years. It will also improve seismic resilience. We're taking a lot of weight off the building, and we're building a seismically isolated roof over the entire structure. It will greatly improve the passenger experience. We'll push a lot of concessions post-security as opposed to the Oregon market today. That was a great concept, and it's worked really well, but people now want to travel right through security before they shop. So we'll do a lot better if we can push those concessions behind the security checkpoint. And then finally, it provides us flexibility. The existing core processing area is really a hodgepodge or a stitch together of 6 buildings since the 50s, complete with structural elements that can't be moved, mainly due to seismic code. And so the idea is to essentially take out the walls out of the inside of your house so we can rearrange it to adapt to new technologies, new ways of travel. And, if we think about health screening being part of the commercial aviation industry in the future, that's going to provide us room to do those types of things. So that project itself will take until 2025 to complete. And you can go onto our website. There's a PDX Next website on the Port's public website where we have just released kind of renderings of what we anticipate that looking like. We haven't really shared them publicly, but they're up if you want to go look at them, and there's a campaign to share those. I'll finish with a quick picture. This is the new Concourse E extension. If you haven't been to PDX lately, whether you're flying Southwest or not, I encourage you when you do travel to go out there. It is really beautiful, and it's really a nice, modern, clean facility that people have really enjoyed, and we're very proud of it. And I think we're going to be, we both as Oregonians and as people in the aviation industry will be very proud of the Terminal Core project when we're done. We look at it as the gateway to the region, and it's worth the kind of investment to make the impression both on our community, but also on people visiting our state, what Oregon's all about. So thank you very much. I think I'm on the hook for questions. So Jake.
Yeah, Dan, thank you. That was very comprehensive. It took most of the time, but we have a couple minutes or so for 2 or 3 quick questions and answers. So if you have a question, please unmute, ask the question, and then remute. We've got almost 70 people online, so we want to keep the chatter down. So please unmute and go there. I do have one question that came online. Dan, can you describe the quick turnaround facility?
You bet. The quick turnaround facility is a consolidated rental car processing facility. So it's the facility where when you return your rental car, it goes to get cleaned, fueled, and any light maintenance done on it, and then returned back into the fleet facility. So that's a modern facility. Of note is we use non-potable water out of a local aquifer. So we're not using potable water. It's kind of an interesting thing. If you have water rights, you should try to use them. It's a lot cheaper.
Any other questions?
When the new facility goes up, what will you do with the old one?
So a good question. Maybe when we expand the facility to the west, we'll open that portion and push security to there, and we'll move ticketing farther out. Then we'll go back into the existing facility and clear that out as well. So it will be the existing facility footprint will be additive to the new one as well. So it's just going to be a much larger facility. We're not actually eliminating any square footage, we're just adding, and it'll just be more spacious. Again, we're trying to think 20 years ahead so we have the facility so people can move through it efficiently.
Question in the chat from Patty Norris. What was the website for information on the new terminal?
portofportland.com, and then there's a PDX Next link to it. But the port's public website will have all the links on it. And
Thank
that'll
you.
just be www.portofportland.com.
Thank you. From Aaron Fagree, architect and airport planner. He's asking if you're doing any resiliency work on the runway for seismic.
Great question. We are just completing a study right now of what technique and cost it would be to make 6,000 feet of runway seismically resilient for a Cascadia subduction zone event. We feel like that's a major asset to the state for relief. We have chosen the south runway, and primarily the east end of the south runway is the best location for that, mainly because of soil conditions. So we're pretty advanced in our planning for that. The challenge will be to find the money for it. It's hard to tell the airlines they're on the hook for seismic resilience in Oregon, but we're working with the congressional delegations to see if there's opportunities for federal funding. And we've chosen 6,000 feet as an operation for Group 3 aircraft and also military aircraft. So we can get back on our feet. Obviously, we couldn't handle larger aircraft, but we think that's the right way to start, right? To make Oregon more resilient.
Well, thank you, Dan. We could go on for a whole hour. We're so interested in PDX and its future, but it's getting time to move on. Thank you, Dan. Dan,
Thank you
by
all
the
very
way,
much.
Before Dan came to the Port of Portland, he's a Coast Guard Academy graduate, commander in the Coast Guard, a lot of nautical experience around the country and here. And we're delighted that he's the Chief Operating Officer of Port of Portland, and our friend Vince Granado is managing the construction. So we can't wait to get back to 35,000 feet, Dan. Thanks again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker, as you drive out to the Portland terminal, you may have noticed over on the right-hand side a beautiful new building constructed by Centrix Construction, one of our members, called Atlantic Aviation. Well, if you're not just a normal passenger, if you're a rock star, a politician, a president, or private business jet or a company, then you would fly into Atlantic Aviation. It's a private aviation terminal, and Greg Miller, general manager, is up next to talk about Atlantic Aviation.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jay. And we do enjoy a very nice facility, and invite anybody that wants to stop out for a tour to call me, and be happy to show you around with appropriate social distancing in place. And I'll be glad when that term isn't used, every hour of every day, but we'll look forward to that day. So we'll start at square one. And the question about our operation in the Wheel of Fortune world would be, what is an FBO? And unfortunately, once that term is broken down, the acronym FBO is Fixed Base Operator, it really doesn't provide any more clarity to anybody. So I'll go through a little bit of brief history and fast forward to an update, in the COVID world. So it's a very interesting business that really began in the 20s with the advent of aircraft coming out of military service and going into the civilian world. And as airplanes started flying around the country, you'd heard the term barnstorming. Aircraft were landing wherever they could, and need arose for services, whether it was fuel or service, maintenance, and things have grown since then into the world that we know it, with roughly around 3,000 FBOs plus or minus in existence today, which is down from the early 80s, the heyday, probably over 5,000 FBOs. An FBO is granted service or authority to provide service on airports by a port, a board, municipality, or some jurisdiction. And those services cover a wide variety. I mentioned about 3,000 FBOs currently, and I think it was introduced earlier with the number of airports just in the state of Oregon, 97 public service airports. Multiply that times the airport number of states. The bottom line is, in general aviation, you can get much closer majority of time to your destination. And that's a strategic advantage in many places. So Atlantic Aviation, our facility is about 3.5 years old. It was built by Centrex Construction. A very beautiful, purpose-built facility, built from the ground up with the passenger experience in mind. We have about 12,000 foot terminal and two 30,000 square foot hangars that are completely full, actually over full, and about 6,000 square feet of office that we leased out to tenants. We have a state-of-the-art fuel facility storing about 90,000 gallons of jet fuel and 12,000 gallons of avgas. And we enjoyed the rare privilege of having a covered awning because we live in the state of Oregon, so we can keep our team out of the weather, and also when we're receiving the fuel, it keeps the elements away. A nice overhead picture of one of our hangars with quite a few of our tenants at home. And just from a number standpoint, we all enjoy the metrics being tossed out. And I did a rough calculation, and our tenants, if everybody's home, well, it doesn't matter if they're home or not, but the value just of the aircraft is somewhere close to $500 million. And when I added that up, it almost scared me. And but we enjoy a lot of aircraft that are expensive, and those are spread out throughout every airport across the country. Nice view of our terminal. So what do FBOs do? Just in short, we handle scheduled and unscheduled private, corporate, military, sports charters on very short notice. And we're seeing more of that in what we call pop-up business, stuff being scheduled within 24 hours post-COVID. Well, let's say in the last 60 days when things have started a strong march upward. In essence, we handle everything on the airport that doesn't go through the commercial terminal or the cargo ramp on the south side. And case in point, it's been about a year and a half ago, and Antonov had a weather diversion from Seattle. And we had a frantic phone call from airport operations saying, what are you going to do with that? And I saw it taxi by our facility, and I thought that wasn't on the schedule last night. And we ended up parking that on the Boeing ramp because we were not prepared for it. But every day brings its own new series of activities. Our team ranges rental vehicles, transportation, overnight accommodation, catering, which ranges from crackers to multi-course gourmet meals for customers. The customers themselves range from student pilots without a clue but a big dream, to mom and pops, and as Jake said, rock stars, media stars, political midgets. Oh gosh, that was a typo. I thought I took that out. And other entrepreneurs. Some airports have a single FBO like PDX. We're fortunate in that sense to enjoy being the sole provider here. And there are some airports, a few across the country, that have as many as 6 FBOs. I see Bruce is on the call today, and he can attest to some of those airports where there's multiple choices. And the financial investment of the operations range from very small and modest to opulent at some of the airports across the country. You know, normal service requests that our team gets on a daily basis could include fuel only. It could be as Spartan as we're just dropping off passengers, going to be a quick in and out, to we need coffee, ice, newspapers, catering, luggage handling, clean the windshield, dump the lavatory, also known as the honey bucket, and fill up the tank with water, and everything in between. We pump jet fuel, which is like kerosene or diesel, and we also pump 100 low lead high octane avgas. And as I mentioned, we provide hangar and office rental space. The Atlantic organization stretches coast to coast and north to south. We have 63 operations currently active across the country, which you can see on the map here. So what does a day look like on our ramp? And representative of any FBO across the country. Handling one of the larger airplanes like the 747 that carried some soccer teams out, military traffic, and an activity that Centrex, the company that built our hangar, participates in is a group called HALA, as you can see on the shirt on the gentleman on the left there. And they were bringing, it's an educational effort that covers a wide range of ethnic and cultural backgrounds. And the day that this tour was scheduled, the aircraft behind it also, surprisingly, was hosting a multicultural crew, large crew that day they were transporting, that had 9 different cultures represented on it. So it was an exceptional day to have this group of kids talk to like-minded people that had aspired to be in military aviation and serve their country. And what we see as fun and supporting education and inspiring young people to get involved in aviation is now falling under an umbrella called diversity and inclusion. And so we find ourselves continuing and being encouraged to continue to do what we certainly enjoy, and that's getting kids and young people inspired and motivated to get involved in aviation. Another picture of a special operations mission that came in a few months ago. It was on our ramp. We hosted the Portland Timbers when they won the championship 2 years ago. It was extremely late at night. I think it was post-midnight. And behind the scenes or mixed in there are a bunch of their, what they call super fans. And we brought them into the lobby and allowed the team to mingle with the super fans. We find many events, such as when the Beavers won the College World Series, we were given 24-hour notice of a charter coming in here that grew and grew and grew up until the moment the plane came in and the fire department provided a water cannon archway for the arrival. It was very, very exciting. As I mentioned, business aircraft flying through our terminal and other similar terminals could request a variety of services, which I have listed here. That's a screenshot from our website. But every single one is different and unique and unscripted. Sometimes we get advance notice, which long-term notice nowadays is about 24 hours to pop-up trips. And simply because business aircraft are responding to the needs of their owners, and they're simply going from point A to point B when they need to. And so we find ourselves describing our business much like a fire department. When the bell rings, we know we have the equipment, we have the training, and we have the mindset, and you respond to the need. And it's kind of fun. We've seen the Royal Air Force come in last year. Actually, it was during the month of September when they flew in for the Portland Air Show. And we hosted them with 11 of these small red T-45 Goshawks and a support aircraft. This is a picture of what one of our hangars was converted to by the port for their annual vendor recognition night. It's hard to imagine that that was a hangar full of airplanes, but it was beautifully decorated and converted for an event that hosted 300 to 400 people. Here's a great picture of an Antonov that was in during the month of May that came in to pick up some UAVs. And it was an all-day event with our team, very exciting. And this was in the doldrums of COVID. And we were tremendously excited to get the call for this airplane. And surprisingly, that was also followed up on the same day by a C-17 from the country of Qatar that flew in to pick up 4 pallets of howitzer shells. And that was the only cargo. And we were shocked. I don't know what the cost was for that, but we took care of both airplanes, one on the east end and one on the west end of the ramp. But that was a very exciting day that really bolstered our sagging revenue during that time when COVID was hitting hard. The other airplane that traveled through last year was this $1 million aircraft called Draco, which actually suffered an accident since then and is no longer operable, but incredibly short field performance with a turbine engine in it. And they stopped through on their way up to Alaska to do a short field takeoff competition for a couple of days. So you can see the variety of aircraft and activities on our ramp is pretty diverse. And has been touched on, and I don't want to dwell on because I feel like we're on the road to recovery, but COVID-19 hit and the world came to a stop. All of our customers were home. Some of them didn't fly for days and weeks. And our primary activity truly was moving planes in and out of the hangar for maintenance run-ups to keep the hydraulics moving and the systems operating, and maybe flying off to a maintenance facility elsewhere to get routine maintenance done. We went on what some companies are calling furlough. Ours was MDO for mandatory days off, but we were able to keep our team minimally impacted down to with a 32-hour work week, but we had to do that. But the company incurred the additional expense and kept everybody on at full-time status as far as benefits, and we kept the doors open, and we were thankful for that. We're not back to the pre-COVID levels. I don't know if anybody that will be, and I'm not expecting to, but all I know is since June 1st, we've been on an upward march, and the trend line is strong. And what we're waiting for right now is the return of military traffic, and that's been severely diminished. And if that gets back on track, then we will be back to where we were. But for right now, activity level is high, and we're seeing strong activity in the charter world. And what that's reflecting is a concern about flying on airlines. And it was what's touched on that once a vaccine is brought into play, we should see the airline activity increase. But for right now, a lot of those passengers are going off on private aircraft, and that's helping us. So that's kind of a rapid fire summary, and I'd be happy to field any questions that anybody has.
I know you try to protect your clients' anonymity and all, but could you mention any of the famous dignitaries who've flown in over the last couple of years to Atlantic?
In 2.5 years since I've been here, it's been vice presidents. We haven't had any presidential visits here. Heads of state, TSA heads were here recently. You mentioned rock stars. I'm going to share my claim to fame. I got a call. I'm brought into play for extra high level stuff like van runs, helping to throw baggage when our team gets really busy. I know my place here, but I got a request from a customer to go get a cappuccino from Starbucks, extra hot. And so I dutifully went down to the Cascade Center and got that and brought it back and handed it to my CSR, and she took it to the plane. And I was curious, so the next day I asked, I said, who was that for? And she said, that was for Pink. And so I told my daughter, and she said, shut up. I said, I got a drink for Pink, and that's my claim to fame. Board figures, Guy Fieri loves Portland, and he's been out a number of times. Some of the Shark Tank members have been in and out, but I'll be honest with you, when we have clients flying in and out, we don't recognize them. They look so surprisingly different in real time or in reality that sometimes I'm telling a high profile person how to get to the restroom, and I turn around, walk away, and I don't know who I've talked to until one of my staff says, do you know who you just helped? And it could be, and one was Drake. He's been a number of times, including his personal, 767 called Air Drake. It's quite a variety.
Thank you. Are there questions from the floor?
I thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much, Greg. We really appreciate it. What a beautiful facility. You ought to stop by and take a visit someday when you're out in the Portland area. We held our annual summit there last year in one of the hangars, had it catered. It was just wonderful. You look around at the airplanes, multi-million dollars, you don't even want to touch one. So we're going to head now from Portland down 20 miles south to the Aurora State Airport. And at Aurora, we have a thriving business economy. We have many different businesses, aviation related, over 1,200 employees. A couple of the major companies there, Columbia Helicopter, HTS, and Erickson, are world leaders in heavy lift helicopters, fighting fires all over the world, logging, construction. And we have some smaller local ones, such as Brim Aviation in Ashland and Baker Aircraft in Baker City, flying helicopters and doing all those sort of things. But one of the most interesting businesses at Aurora is Van's Aircraft, a long-time family-owned business who's the world leader in owner-built kit aircraft. Mitch Locke, the president, is our next speaker. Mitch, take it away.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it. And good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining us today. I'll bring my screen up here in just a minute, but there's one comment I wanted to make. Since powered flight began in the early 20th century, we saw a rise in commercial aviation and military aviation with major companies like Boeing and General Dynamics and McDonnell Douglas filling those needs. But there also was a need for personal aviation, general aviation, and those were filled by companies like Cessna and Piper in Beechcraft, who developed small single-engine airplanes, twin-engine aircraft, all the way up to business jets as we see today. And this has been the basis of our general aviation for many, many decades. But Uh, there have always, from the very beginning, just like Wilbur and Orville, who were tinkerers in their bicycle shop, putting together their first airplane. Since they have flown, there have been tinkerers in their respective garages and backyards, tinkering and designing their own aircraft. It's been like that since the very beginning. We saw the rise of experimentally, I should say, home-built aviation beginning in the 1920s. And with the burgeoning of more and more aircraft, the Federal Aviation finally granted a category of aircraft for people to actually design and build and fly in the National Airspace System, home-built aircraft. Van's Aircraft, as Jake said, is the world's leader in design and manufacture of home-built aircraft. I am happy and proud to say, though I am not a native Oregonian, but I'm getting close to being called one now. This company was born and bred right here in Oregon. This is our founder, Richard Van Grunsven. He's founder and CEO of Van's Aircraft, born and raised here in the Willamette Valley. He earned a mechanical engineering degree from the University of Portland and a veteran of the U.S. Air Force. And he truly is an aviation visionary and icon. After college, he bought a very early, already flying version of an aircraft called the Stitz Playboy. A number of these were built in the 1950s and 1960s, and as you can see him flying there now. It was a nice little airplane, but for Richard, also known as Van, he needed a little more excitement in aviation. So therefore, being the engineer that he is, an experimenter, he made several changes and became a much more exciting aircraft to fly, and much easier and much safer to fly. It could not be considered a Stitz Playboy any longer, so Van renamed it the RV-1. RV coming from his initials, Richard Van Grunsven. With the confidence that he gained by designing this aircraft, or designing the modifications to the aircraft, he decided to come up with his own clean sheet design for a single engine airplane. This was the RV-3. An unbelievably capable little aircraft. I had the privilege of building one of these models myself in the late 1980s. First flying in 1971, it became an immediate sensation. And Van's Aircraft was born out of this one little aircraft. Van developed plans that he could sell to people. Then he started to develop some more rudimentary parts, maybe doing some of the welding, some of the more difficult things, offering the fiberglass parts and the canopies, things that a normal home builder would not really have the skills or the capabilities or the resources to do. So he started with very rudimentary kits in 1971. I have to fast forward a little bit because I don't want to take too much time here, but this is Van's Aircraft mission. We manufacture airframe kits. This is an example of one of our models, a two-seat side-by-side airplane called an RV-7. We manufacture the kits here in Aurora, Oregon, and we ship them all over the world. I'm simplifying it at the very bottom there where I say just add your engine, your propeller, and your instrument panel and seats and you're ready to go. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's the basic idea here. A typical aircraft will take a novice builder, this particular aircraft, say between 1,000 and 1,600 man hours of joyous time back in their garages or basements or sometimes living rooms and even bedrooms to get to a finished product. So it's no small project, but it's a hobby. It's a means for people to get to a very high performance and very safe aircraft. We started with the RV-3, which is a single-seat airplane, but our company lineup comes today. We still have the single-seat RV-3. We go to various two-seat versions, whether it's side-by-side or a tandem seating. And we go all the way up to a four-seat family cruiser. Now, these are serious airplanes. I mean, these airplanes, all of them are capable of 200-mile-an-hour speeds. We go cross-country. They have 1,000-mile ranges. Many of our aircraft are capable of aerobatics. So, you know, people can get up in the sky and do cloud dancing and yanking and banking and turn upside down and just have a glorious time enjoying the freedom that we have in the United States that's general aviation. Over the years, we have developed some very rudimentary kits, which were nothing more than materials packaged that the builders would have to do all their bending and all their hole layouts, all of the, all the fabrication of most of the parts. These days and age, we rely heavily on CAD/CAM. That's computer aided design and computer aided manufacturing of our kits. The heart of our manufacturing is the picture that's posted here of the Trump Trumatic 200. Actually, we have 3 of these machines nowadays, a little bit later models. But what they do is they convert flat aluminum sheet into airplane parts. We've gone beyond that a little bit better. We also have CNC mills nowadays, a CNC lathe. We're about ready to incorporate a hydropress into our operation. And so what this gives us, it gives us greater control over the manufacture of the airplane, which translate into more consistency between individual aircraft that are built out by normal builders like myself and like you, if you so desired. And what that transmits into is safety, because that is the one mantra of Van's aircraft right from the very beginning, is safety, not only in design, but in execution and in operation of our aircraft. Okay, this is the outline of our company. Founded in 1972, we are celebrating this year 48 years of success, and by a wide margin. And this is no brag, this is just fact. We are far and above the world's leading manufacturer of home-built kits. We have almost 11,000 airplanes that have been completed and flown worldwide. On average, 1.5 airplanes, Van's airplanes take to the sky somewhere around the world every year. So that translated to over 500 new airplanes take to the skies of one of Van's aircraft designs every day of every year. So this year we will sell over 2,000 airplane kits. And as you can see there, that our worldwide market is 30% of our sales we sell to many countries: Australia, New Zealand, many to the Middle East, Greenland. We sell our aircraft all over the world. The only place we haven't delivered to yet is Antarctica, but I think that maybe at some point in time we will find a builder down there. Right now at our facility, we have 100 people who work here, and we have representation in the Midwest, in Ohio, and in Delaware on the East Coast. I'm proud to say that half of our company is owned by our employees. So we live, we work here, we share in the work, and we share in the profits of Van's aircraft. We have a full slate of benefits, including matching 401k, health insurance, paid vacation, and holidays. When people come to work for Van's aircraft, they have a tendency to stay. We have many employees that have been here for 20 and 30 years. This is a great place to work, and it is my mission to keep it this way. It's my mission to keep us in the forefront of general aviation and experimental aviation, and helping to promote general aviation to the masses and to promote safety in any way that I possibly can. So, with that being said, oh, I did want to add one thing. The COVID-19 crisis, it's been terrible for everyone in the country. We know that is, and our hearts go out to everyone who has suffered, not just personally, but financially, but the other 2 businesses that preceded us. But if ever there was a bright spot in general aviation, I have to say it has been for Van's aircraft. Because of the COVID-19, with people restricted being at home, I'm happy to report that our sales have gone absolutely right through the roof. People are at home, they're building, they're realizing their dreams. They're seeing how that our life here in the United States can really be fragile. And these people have been sitting and waiting for years and years and years, and finally they have said to themselves, I think it's time that I realize my dream of building my own airplane. And Van's Aircraft has been here to serve, and we will continue to be here to serve. So if we have any questions.
Thank you, Mitch. That was outstanding. I think I'm ready to build. What questions do we have from the floor? Please unmute and ask.
What's your current backlog on aircraft sales and delivery?
Well, depending upon the kit, Normally we can get our basic kit, the empennage kit, we can get those out within about 2 weeks. Subsequent kits, we're backed up about 3 months to 4 months at this point in time. We have a version of our kit that's called a quick build kit that is essentially the airframe comes to you in a very completed state of form. Not all the way, but to a great extent. And those right now, those are verging on 10 to 11 months now at this point in time. The demand has just been absolutely phenomenal. And we only have so much manufacturing capability, and we are, you know, as we bring things in-house and we increase our manufacturing capabilities and efficiencies, we're hoping to bring that down. But for right now, sales have been so strong that we've had to push out our delivery times just that long. And it's unfortunate because people want these things and we want to get them to them as soon as we possibly can. But, you know, unfortunately, we can only do so much and so fast. I just hope that they don't lose interest by the time they get their kits.
Mitch, this is Ted.
Hi, Ted.
Tell everybody about your career training opportunities that you're doing at Vans. He's doing something special there. A lot of us support the Airway Science for Kids Teen Flight, where we've got young people 14 to 19 years old building real RV-12s. And Mitch has hired one of our Teen Flight guys to run their manufacturing part. And it's a huge success story for career training right here at Aurora.
Thank you, Ted. I do appreciate that. Yeah, one of our products is a factory-built, factory-certified light sport aircraft, which is our RV-12. It comes as a complete kit, as you can build it yourself, but we do sell it as a factory-certified version. And as Ted has said, we've had a number of people, individuals, young people who have been part of youth build programs all over the country who build these aircraft as part of you know, a youth education programs. And we have been fortunate enough to hire a few of these into our aircraft facilities, the manufacturer of our RV-12 aircraft. And it's been a very successful program. We've gotten some very good individuals out of this.
Our board member, Aaron Fagry, has been very involved with the Airway Science for Kids for many years. Aaron, is there any comment you might make on this project that's led by Vans? And when I was out there with you last time, Dick Van Grunson, the founder, was even helping the kids build airplanes.
Yeah, we've been extremely fortunate in our connection to Vans. You know, we've probably trained 100 teens now, you know, with a year and a half each working with metal, riveting, learning all those kind of skills that could be transferred to many different professions in the future. But I tell these kids that they're being trained by one of the world's most famous aircraft designers. You know, and they, of course, they don't really understand that. And it'd probably only be later in their life that they'll figure out how fortunate they were to have Dick be there actually training them in these very elemental parts of the trade. I had a couple of quick questions. One, does Vans ever look out to maybe making a connection to the UAS or the, you know, the drone industry? Can you imagine the aircraft, you know, being used in a kind of a delivery mode, and maybe describe a little bit of your goals on manufacturing finished aircraft?
Well, we have not ventured into the UAS field as of this point. You know, with our current level of sales and our immediate plans, there just has not been the bandwidth in order to pursue that market. Will we ever? There are no immediate plans at this point in time, but again, you know, never say never where we might go with with aviation, and whether it's our different models that are going after a different market, or in addition to what we're going after now, or the unmanned airport, unmanned vehicles, and maybe even to electric aircraft at some point in time. Not yet. It's not in the offing as of yet, but you know, these things that we are looking forward to the future. As far as other manufactured aircraft, certified aircraft coming out of Vans Aircraft, right now we are limited to our light sport aircraft, the RV-12. Federal Aviation is changing their restrictions and coming up with a new set of rules that will be coming down within the next couple of years. And as we understand it, all of our models at one point in time, some point in time, hope within the next few years, will be able to be constructed, assembled, and delivered as factory certified aircraft under a different set of rules, modified rules, as opposed to the FAR Part 23 that Cessna and Piper and all the other GA manufacturers have to adhere to. They're a little bit relaxed, not entirely, believe me. Their design rules will be the same, but they're actually, the manufacturing requirements will be somewhat more lax. Lax is a little bit, it's not quite the word to use, but still you get my point here. Once we have those rules in hand, we will be looking at choosing one of our models, one or two of our models, to actually assemble and complete and sell as factory certified aircraft. Of course, that's going to require an expansion in our facilities. So we've been looking at building another building immediately adjacent to this, to our factory here in Aurora, Oregon. Right now, pardon the pun, but it's still up in the air because we don't know exactly what the FAA is going to allow us to do. But we do have that very much as a goal for the future for Van's aircraft.
Mitch, one of the PR things happening this year is the AOPA, the Association for Aircraft Owners and Pilots, every year refurbishes an aircraft, and then there's a drawing, and some member wins that aircraft. This year, it's a Vans RV, and this aircraft is very high performance, one of the most high performance that they've offered. And I'd like to hear you say just a couple words about that, because we're out of time, and what that airplane might retail for if somebody bought it.
Well, again, the Rv10 is our four-place airplane. It's the top of the line aircraft. It's a 200-mile-an-hour airplane, a true four-seat airplane that you can fill the seats, you can fill the tanks, and still have some useful load left over for a little bit of baggage, and go anywhere in the United States that you so desire. We are, we're very honored that the AOPA chose one of these models to refurbish and to give away. It's been quite the advertisement for Van's aircraft, but what it does is it displays the utility of experimental aviation, the home-built aircraft, not just for Van's aircraft, but other companies like Sonex and Zenith Aircraft and RANS. There are a number of fine aircraft that are out there, not just Van's aircraft, and it really has brought it more into the public eye that this is a viable alternative than to the standard factory built aircraft. As far as price goes, right now a nicely built RV10 out on the open market is generally going for right about $250,000, maybe even a little bit more. I've seen them go for over $300,000 depending upon how they are equipped. Under the guidelines as we understand it, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to build an RV10 as a factory built airplane. But if it were, I would have to guess it would probably be in the $500,000 range. Now that seems like an awful lot of money, but when you consider to our head-to-head competition, which we'd be going up against Cirrus Aircraft, which is an $800,000 to $1 million airplane, I think that you can see that probably the RV10 would represent a very good value, and we would probably have more orders than we could probably fill. But in any event, again, that's just supposition on our part at this point in time. But again, the RV10 and all of our aircraft in the RV fleet are wonderful models, good, safe airplanes, and hopefully we can get a few more people to start building these things.
Thank you, Mitch, and your company hosts tours, so contact Vans if you'd like to go take a look at it. Now we're going to move from the valley over to the coast to a little town of Warrenton, population 5,600. And believe it or not, there's an internationally known high-level leader in aviation equipment. He's been around for many years. Jesse Long, who's the Director of Sales and Customer Care, is our next presenter to tell us about Electro.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thanks so much to the Oregon Business Plan for allowing Oregon Aviation Industries and for us having the chance to be a part of this too. For those that aren't familiar, here on the North Oregon coast, we're building electric tow barless tow tractors for the aviation industry. And I'll just give a brief introduction. We are privileged to be based here at the Astoria Airport. And like Jake said, really airports, we feel strongly should be economic, and they have the capability, of course, to be real economic centers. And you see some of the tenants there down at the lower right of the screen, not only our operation, where we produce between 200 and 300 tow tractors a year, but Coast Guard's here, Life Flight, UPS, and others. One thing that has been a big benefit to us, Electro is celebrating its 75th anniversary this year, and having originated, of course, as a small family-owned company, and now being a part of a larger corporation, JBT, and the Aerotech division specifically, we really benefit from having an innovative product that is well diversified, a diverse clientele. And that has definitely helped us through this whole COVID situation. And I don't want COVID to be the center of this presentation, but I guess I do want to point out that our products are used not only in the general aviation market, but military operators around the world, the aircraft OEMs, buy a lot of our machines, and the commercial aviation sector as well. So that diversification has definitely helped keep us afloat, not only in this downturn that we're experiencing right now, but in past economic challenges. 75% of our vehicles to date now have been sold in the Americas region and North America to a strong degree. But we have had times, during the 2008, 2009 downturn where we were doing 80% of our sales annually going overseas. So again, just a testament to having a product that really has a diverse, not only with regards to sector, but really geographically, serving the entire world we've got about 6,000 of these units around the world today. As far as sector division, 40% of our business annually, and this is pre-COVID, was really to the general and business aviation sector. Commercial aviation had surpassed GA. That's a different picture this year, of course, where our GA business is really carrying us. And I've listed some of our key customers there at the bottom. So the thing I'll just say that's been so fun for me since I first started working for Electro 15 years ago is going to places around the world, Saudi, Oman, Malaysia, and you see these tractors driving around that say made in Warrenton, Oregon. And we're proud of that. We're a huge fan of domestic manufacturing, of our local community, and providing jobs. You'll see just a brief company history here. Started in 1945, created a wide range of different products, but really now focusing the key date I would point to here on this is 1967, where we built our first tow tractor. And that really is our main focus today. We just build these tow tractors. We'll still support any piece of equipment we ever built, but this is our main focus, with a whole range all the way from a small tractor that'll handle your private and trainer, piston and turboprop aircraft, all the way up to your narrow body airliners. And again, I guess I should say we were acquired by JBT only about almost 2 years ago now, and it's been fun to fit into that repertoire of equipment, really be a complementing product line to all that JBT already offers. And having the backing of a corporation like that too, I really feel has been advantageous to us, being a North Oregon business here, and just offers some resilience, some real strong business direction and future development opportunities too. So you see, yeah, the range of aircraft there. I would say not everybody maybe noticed, but there was a picture of one of our units in one of Greg's slides in the Atlantic presentation. And you might have also noticed there was a Commander loader pictured in the PDX presentation, and that's another JBT product. So it's just fun to see some of our brand represented, and really making an impact on the Oregon economy. Just for an overview, this is kind of the layout of JBT Corporation. There is a food tech division, Aerotech. Obviously, we fall under the Aerotech division, and specifically in the ground support. We are one of the product lines in that group of businesses. When we were acquired a couple of years ago, of course, there was due diligence that was done, and JBT, what they were impressed with was a 95% approval rating from our customers. This Strategex survey company, they said they'd never seen such high results like that. And what I appreciate about our relationship now with JBT is, as JBT came in and was really presenting who they were and how we would fit in with the rest of the organization, I felt like we're good complementing organizations. You know, their model, their conviction with regards to customer care, building quality products, matches what we've always striven for. And so I'm excited about what the future can do. Just considering this presentation, really focusing on Oregon business plan and what does Lectro bring to the table, what makes us special. Being family owned here for more than 70 years, like I said, now our 75th year actually, building reliable, easy to operate, easy to maintain equipment, and also the forward thinkingness of Lectro being an environmentally friendly. I mean, who would have thought back in 1967 that electric tow vehicles would be such a demand in the 2000s, and here we are. Really, I feel like we're coming to our own. But the economic impact is what I really want to highlight here. It's definitely, you know, we're a unique industry for the North Coast. Not a lot of real heavy industrial manufacturing jobs here. Worldwide client base, like I said, nearly 6,000 units in operation around the world. We've had as many as 90 employees. Of course, that was pre-COVID. That's been affected somewhat here, but contributing as much as $35 million annually to the Oregon economy, or doing that much business in any case. Like I said, located here at an airport, and now part of this international organization that really, again, just increases our capability in research and development. You know, now we have access and really an entire worldwide sales network, after sales support, which is just having the result of strengthening really our worldwide opportunity and impact. Another thing I guess I would like to point out is, in addition to the employees that we employ, and I know compared to some of the other speakers today, even our peak of 90 employees is not a big deal, but I'm pretty proud of the fact that we do our very best to even source our other components from local companies, and we're talking everything from steel suppliers to PLCs, seats. You know, there's local seamstresses that do straps and seat covers for us, and we really work hard to make this not just a made in the USA product, but a made in Oregon product, and we're real proud of that. So I don't want to take too much time. I'm certainly open to any questions people might have, but again, just want to say thanks so much, both to Oregon Aviation Industries as well as Oregon Business Plan, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jesse. Please unmute if you have a question. Who would have known that we have a major manufacturer in a town of 5,600 on the coast that's worldwide? You do tours?
We do. You know, it's a little tough. You'll have to fill out a form and say that, okay, I'll maintain social distancing and wear a mask and all that.
And the Coast Guard's right next door, and they might let you in as well.
Yeah.
Okay, one last request for questions. If you have one, mute or chat. If not, we'll be moving on.
Thanks, Jake.
I guess you covered that so thoroughly it needed more. So we'll head from the coast now back to the valley to the Salem airport. You've all heard of Garmin for automobiles, outdoor recreation, moving maps, boating, but they're also the world leader in business and commercial avionics. So now we're going to hear from Alan Blood, who's the Director of Software Engineering at Garmin AT in Salem. Alan?
Hey, thanks, Jake, and thanks for welcoming me to participate in this forum today. Again, as Jake mentioned, my name's Alan Blood. I am a director here at the Garmin facility here in Salem. Been here for about 16 years and really have found this a place to build my career. And so it's my pleasure to kind of walk through a high-level overview of the company here in Salem and showcase a little bit of its history, what we do here, and then also talk about the other careers that we've developed with other folks here in Oregon. Garmin AT is very much a testament to Garmin's vertical integration model. So we do everything from early research, design, engineering, through product testing, both rigorous environmental testing as well as flight testing, FAA certification at the product level and at the aircraft level. And then we have a full production manufacturing floor here with 2 SMT lines and also full product support. So really from the very early beginning all the way to the final product shipment, we do it here in the Salem facility at Garmin AT. A little bit about the history of the company. Company originally was founded back in 1982 by the Morrow brothers. It was actually the second startup that they had founded, and so they named it Tomorrow to denote that second startup, founded in 82 and then went public in 1984. And those products were based on an older navigation technology called the RAN. And they served many markets, marine aviation primarily, but then also helped with vehicle tracking type systems. In 1986, UPS acquired Tomorrow and again, kind of focused on similar technology, although under the UPS brand, Tomorrow developed electronics equipment for package tracking and vehicle tracking. And then as years went on, they renamed and refocused the Tomorrow and renamed it UPS AT. So essentially denoting a shifted focus on aviation and avionics technology in 1999. And then just about a year before I started in 2003, Garmin acquired UPS AT and renamed it Garmin AT to what it is today. So talk a little bit about growth over the years. Here I have a early shot of our facility, aerial shot. These are actually from Google Earth, but back in 2000, this was the footprint of the facility. A couple things I want to point out here. You see this was what will eventually become our hangar facility. And so if we move into the next slide, this is in 2005. After the Garmin acquisition, you can see we've got a full hangar, some of the aircraft sitting around there. And then over the years have really grown. In 2008, we did a building expansion. It doubled our floor space to 115,000 square feet in this main building. And we also expanded our hangar to handle additional certification and flight test capability. In 2010, we also opened a customer contact center. It was in lease space that was across the airport, so it wasn't at this, what you see here on this screen. But what we have today is even further expanded. So not only have we further expanded our hangar, but you'll notice we've added a new 66,000 square foot building. This opened in March of 2015. And we refocused that customer contact center that was remotely located. And so we now have room for up to about 120 customer contact associates, as well as an additional 150 engineers in what we like to call the North Building. So yeah, a little bit about what we do to support jobs in Oregon. Currently, we have over 500 associates at the Garmin AT location here in Salem. And about 300 of those, a little over 300 of those are in engineering. So, highly skilled, high-paid jobs. And then similar to what Mitch mentioned when he did his presentation on vans, we do have a lot of our associates who are have long-standing careers here, celebrating something like 30 and 35 years of service. So they really, kind of like I have found it to be a place that you can learn and grow and really develop a career. Many others have grown and we're seeing some retire as well, but we very much focus on a culture of serving one another, treating folks respectfully, and very much view it as a family environment. Another thing I'll note is even during COVID, we were continuing to recruit for open positions. albeit it's a little restrictive than it has been in the past years, but there are still key areas that we're hiring for within Garmin, even in the Salem facility here in aviation. Here's just a couple of shots to kind of give you an idea of the life at Garmin. Some of these are pictures of the inside of our facilities. The upper right picture I have shown there is our new north building that I mentioned. Beautiful two-story building with lots of daylighting. It's coming in through skylights. And then just below that, you see a shot of the outside of that north building, as well as a sports court that we have developed, allows folks to play basketball and volleyball. So just a lot of fun opportunities, fun place to work. And I guess the one last thing I'll mention is in the bottom left, you can see a photo of our employee lunchroom. We did a unique painting there that shows a compass rose up across the top. And you can't see it, but from where that picture is being taken, if you reverse the camera, it's looking right straight out over the field, so you can watch aircraft take off and land and watch our own aircraft taxi out and go off and do flight testing. So what do we do in Salem? It's really an aviation technology focus. And so I've got a few slides on some of the capabilities that we have here. First of all, we recruit technical talent nationwide. And on the engineering side, we focus on many different capabilities, everything, as I mentioned at the start, from product design all the way through certification, flight test, systems engineering, and aircraft maintenance. Another thing that we do is we have closely worked with Northwest universities for internships. So we take in several interns every year, primarily from universities like Oregon State, Portland State, Oregon Tech, University of Portland, and Embry-Riddle, as well as a handful of Washington universities. Another thing I'll mention in terms of a stimulating activity and giving back to our community is we are also highly involved in local STEM activities. So we want to promote that engineering and science in the Salem area and in the Willamette Valley. On the manufacturing side, I mentioned this, we have two surface mount technology lines. So that allows us to do a fully automated circuit board assembly, parts placement, as well as full assembly and testing. We build products here that ship straight out. And, our products go in through our Olathe, Kansas facility and then go out to customers, but we do full manufacturing production and product design here. And then I've just got, I guess, two more slides. As Jake mentioned, lots of folks know Garmin for all of the markets that they serve. I've got them listed here. Aviation, marine, fitness, automotive, outdoor. We really have an emphasis on designing and building products that are an essential part of our customers' lives. And then, frequently we do receive letters from folks who share how our products have saved their lives. And one of the things that has gotten a lot of press lately, and something that we're very excited about, is our attention to aviation safety focus. But this is what we call AutoLand, and it's an exciting technology that we're offering now on the general aviation side for if you were to come into an emergency situation, or the pilot would become potentially incapacitated or unable to land the aircraft. We've got technology now that allows co-pilot or passengers to safely find the nearest airport and land the aircraft automatically. This is something that's currently certified for the Cirrus Vision jet, the Daher TBM 940, and the Piper M600 aircraft. And we really view this as our calling and our duty and our obligation to deliver this technology to the aviation industry. And by year end, we expect we'll have over 100 aircraft flying in the field with this amazing capability. So with that, just try to keep it brief, but I'd like to thank everyone and open it up for questions.
Question regarding the AutoLand system.
Yes, sir.
And I've seen the videos, and it's absolutely astounding. I mean, it's just a marvel of technology, and I congratulate you wholeheartedly for bringing this to the market. And I'm sure that eventually it'll get down to RVs, wink, wink. So in any event, one question about that: when you have an owner who has this system, and they're just all systems need to be tested from time to time. Is there procedures that you can do with working with the FAA to let someone know that we're going to test this thing in my airplane on such a day and such a time, or you just go out and test it and, you know, see what happens?
I'm not aware of procedures for coordinating with the FAA for testing, and I certainly wouldn't suggest or advise that anybody just do this on their own. It automatically tunes to emergency frequencies and contacts the centers and will set off a lot of alarms if you were to do something like that. So no, we don't have installation testing capabilities. Mind you, it's in our OEM forward fit aircraft. So our OEMs do ensure that it's properly configured, and when it leaves the factory as a brand new airplane, that it's working as designed. But no, I'm not aware of any customer testing capability with this technology.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, well then we'll move along. We're a few minutes behind, but I got to tell you, I really don't want to miss this next one because this is one of the futures of aviation. The most dynamic and fastest growing segment in aviation today is the drone industry. Unmanned aircraft systems, UAS. They started small, they're getting bigger, and they're getting more capable. In Oregon, we have 3 Federal Aviation Administration approved drone test sites. One at the Tillamook Airport, one in the McMinnville area, and one in Pendleton. And Steve Chrisman, who's the manager of both economic development and the Pendleton Airport, is going to update us on what's going on at the Pendleton Airport Unmanned Aircraft System Test Range. Steve, take it away.
All right, thanks, Jake. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the chance to talk. What a wonderful panel we've had. I'm flattered even beyond this with this group. As Jake said, my name is Steve Chrisman. I'm the Airport Manager and Economic Development Director. I think he made me go last because he knows I talk fast. Originally from New Jersey, moved out to Pendleton from the Oregon coast. After 13 years on the Oregon coast, I had never driven past the Dalles in all the time I lived in Oregon. Had no idea there was anything in Eastern Oregon. I absolutely love Pendleton. It's got to be the most happening ag town in America, and famous for whiskey, wool, rodeo, cowboy boots, cowboy hats, and now hopefully drones. So it's been an interesting run. I came out here to do economic development, didn't have an aviation background, and just so happened to walk into a perfectly timed opportunity to take a very old, very underutilized World War II era airport and try to make it relevant again from the eyes of the FAA. And I think we're making some good progress. I'll jump into my slides here. I know we're way over time, so let me, all right. Okay, the Pendleton Uas Range. We were part of the team with the other areas that Jake mentioned that became FAA test sites or test ranges underneath the Alaska test site in 2013. That's all fine and wonderful, except there was no such thing as a non-military UAS test range. So there wasn't really a model to follow on what we were going to need to do. So we pretty much started from scratch and built the thing from the beginning. Nothing happens for 4 years. Found out after the fact that the FAA wasn't quite as keen on test ranges as we had thought. But all of a sudden in about 2016, things start to really rock and roll. I like to call this the first public drone traffic jam. I actually missed the money shot. The Airbus flying taxi cab, which was out here for a couple of years, was actually out in front of this group, but that's a 1,300-pound drone in the first being pulled behind the first car, and about a 250-pound drone behind the second. So it's pretty awesome to see where things have gone. What are we promoting? A lot of empty airspace. I call it the newest natural resource, and we have it in abundance out in Pendleton. We have about the width of New Jersey and wheat just outside my window here. And believe it or not, that's a highly attractive for the test industry. So who uses the test range? We've had all kinds of customers, varying in size from little tiny quadcopters up to 2,000-pound glider drones and everything in between, including Airbus's single-person unmanned flying taxi cab. So it's been just a wonderful mix. I think we have a really nice blend of both defense industry mixed with commercial purposes, some agriculture. Yamaha's here with their RMAX and their phaser. In fact, they developed the autopilot system for the phaser here in Pendleton. It's been really exciting to watch. What are they doing here? Developmental flight test. Beyond visual line of sight is a big deal. NASA's part of a project here to develop a type certified vehicle for doing monitoring of pipelines, infrastructure inspection, operational test and evaluation, flight demonstrations, air crew training, sensor integration, NAS integration. So national airspace, eventually you're going to see a lot of these flying in our airspace, but that's going to take a little while to occur, and it needs to be done safely. Clearly, they're not going to test them at PDX or SFO or CTAC. They need, rural, low population, low traffic environments to test, and Pendleton just served itself up perfectly for that kind of environment. Ability to fly more complex missions. So you want to go higher, faster? We can go to 15,000 MSL right now. We've got 14,000 square miles, so we have permissions from the FAA to operate over the whole 14,000, pretty much the whole northeast corner of Oregon, for both large and small UAS up to 15,000 MSL. So present and past range users, as you can see, this is Cubic ISR is out of San Diego, Resolute out of Michigan, In Situ, Hood Tech, Argentech. Most of our customers are out of state, actually, which is wonderful. I don't think any of these companies probably would have been coming to Pendleton unless they're big rodeo fans or they wear a lot of Pendleton clothing. And so this has brought a lot of new industries. Many of these are making Pendleton their flight test home and starting to hire people and have year-round permanent facilities. So it's been great to watch. I was at the National Drone Conference last year, the AUVSI conference. The NASA booth was running 3 different videos that were filmed in little old Umatilla, Oregon, Umatilla County, Oregon, which is kind of neat. All of them associated in one way or another with the test range here. So it's brought a lot of folks, and that doesn't count their customers, which we've had, companies bring in Saudis and Israelis, French, Germans, you name it, Turks, Colombians. We've had folks from all over the world come in to visit customers here. So that's been great to see. Positive impacts of UAS for the airport. So we were really, from the FAA's perspective, irrelevant. We had way more infrastructure than any little rural airport should ever have. It's a 17,000 person airport, EAS airport, so Essential Air Service. We're the only subsidized air service in the Northwest. We now have 5 flights a day, round trips to PDX, which is great, but our enplanements were free falling. We had, I think under 12,000 operations a year. It was pretty bleak looking future. From my perspective as a business guy, the tower, we have an air traffic control tower that's in the air traffic control program, which is subsidized. There was a lot of money getting spent on an airport that didn't have a lot of activity going on. So since this has started, airport revenue and investment, we've doubled annual revenue. Actually, it'll probably triple average annual revenue this year. Over 225,000 man hours in the last 3.5 years at the test range alone. Translates to, a lot of these are becoming permanent jobs now, but just alone that'd be 28,000 room nights in a little town in Eastern Oregon, and that's year round. 70 plus full-time employees now, 25 to 30 open positions that we're working hard to help folks fill. It's attracted $5.5 million in grants from both the state of Oregon, several nonprofits, and most recently a $3 million grant from the Economic Development Administration that's going to build a UAS industrial park, which we think is state of the art and one of a kind in probably the Western United States, but certainly the West Coast. Hangars, releasing out 56,000. So we had a lot of empty buildings and not much going on and not much of the way of prospects to fill any of it. We now have no space available, 56,000 square feet leased out by the airport. A private hangar builder just built 4 hangars all leased out. He's going to build another 4 hangars planned. We're going to build 2 more 18,000 square foot hangars, so 36,000. We believe both of those are committed to UAS companies. Now these are, mostly large, companies that again, wouldn't probably step foot in Eastern Oregon had it not been for the test range. We have 180,000 square feet of bare ground leased out that's growing every day. Planned hangars, private landowners are getting paid. So one thing we did is we went out and set up what we call remote launch and recovery areas. So a customer comes in and says, hey, I need higher elevation. I need an elk herd and an old growth forest. We'll go out and find a landowner. And out in Eastern Oregon, landowners they're in the tens of thousands of acres that they own, and we'll make sure the landowner gets compensated, and we'll work with the company to go do their operations out on that property. So these are properties, some of them only get utilized during hunting season, and so that's been great. Aviation activity, which is a big thing from the FAA perspective. We've had 900 sorties this year, 2,351 operations. That's 55% of all our local operations, so all from UAS. Daily caravans of workers. The airport's never been busier. The tower's never been busier. And the airport is abuzz for the first time in a very, very long time. So it's been exciting to watch. And I don't see it letting up. Metrics that matter from an FAA standpoint, where we were suffering in all categories. Enplanements, we were dreadful. We would have blown out our record enplanements since we moved to smaller aircraft in 2006. This year, unfortunately, COVID put a little damper on that, but the UAS industry has actually gotten busier. As you can imagine, an industry where you're working with technology that's going to prevent people from touching people has gotten extremely popular at the moment. And so we have more customers now. And the emplacements are recovering slowly. Operations, way up. Critical services provided the airport. We're helping defense contractors that are going on developing technology that's going to hopefully go out and save lives and deliver supplies. And we have a disaster relief vehicle here. It's been really exciting to kind of see the diversity of the technology. What's next? We are about 2/3 of the way through building a 160-acre UAS industrial park. That's a pretty spectacular facility. It's pretty awesome. We had a 3D animation made in 2013. It was all just a pipe dream. It's pretty cool to see how closely what we're building mirrors what's actually occurring now. And we have already a couple acres leased out there, and we believe a couple companies are gonna put facilities out there. So I think if I had another 5, 6, 10 hangars, I think we'd have another 5, 6, 10 companies in Oregon. We were just recommended, we had the FAA recommend to a company on the East Coast with a very, very large UAS that they should come to Pendleton, Oregon, go figure, to test their vehicle because of our past track record. So that's flattering and exciting to see. And, I catch a lot of this is a flash in the pan. I think you have to have a little bit of stomach for risk and understand that a lot of this is new technology. It's not all going to make it to market. We've already had one large defense contractor that came and went. They ended up laying off 34 highly paid employees, which was unfortunate. The good news is that's now spun into 3 new companies here, all related to that, the remnants of that company. And I think they're going to employ a lot more people when we're done. They're already growing as we speak. One of them just gobbled up the 4 hangars that just got built, or are getting built. So it's exciting to see. It's a flash in the pan. It's an interesting flash, and I think it's going to be a pretty exciting future that we're headed for. And I think Oregon has a real chance to dominate flight test. We've got a huge, thanks to In Situ and others, a huge supply chain in the Northwest that really, and trained workforce, which, between that and incredibly fast internet, we're very well positioned. And I hope everyone will keep an open mind and look to the future, because this is, when you saw this large taxi cab fly, which it was flying miles out into the wheat and back again on its own, doing a racetrack pattern, you saw it was the future. And you can look up Vahana online and check out those videos. This is not an if, this is a when. It's coming. Happy to answer questions.
I already have a couple of drones, and they're a lot of fun to fly. So questions, drones are new. There must be a lot of questions and unknown things.
This is Aaron. Steve, will you talk about, I think you're also running training programs for the people who fly drones, which that could become a whole new industry in itself. Maybe tell us more about what that means.
Yeah, that's super exciting opportunity. And the great thing about being rural is, well, there's not a whole lot in the air or on the ground to hit. The bad thing about being rural is you're a little light on workforce, and particularly skilled workforce can get challenging. So we hired Collins Aerospace from Hood River to come out and teach a week-long course every month. And so they teach the Piccolo autopilot system, a system they developed that is a spin-off from In Situ originally. And it's the most prolific autopilot system in the world. Prior to us running this course, I don't believe there was any opportunity for aspiring workforce wanting to enter the industry to get this kind of specialized training. So this is, you know, in theory, you still have to get through an interview, but this should move just about anybody's resume to the top of the pack. Before that, the only industry the only folks getting hired were typically military folks, former UAS folks from the military, and that's just not a big enough pool to feed what we see as an exploding industry. And so we're going to hopefully run. We also funded a small startup to really write curriculum for a much more advanced UAS course. Our community college, Blue Mountain Community College, just got named one of 26 community colleges in the nation that are FAA certified training centers. And so we think we could string together between the companies that are here and the workforce here a really unique educational offering. And hopefully we've already marched some of our interns into jobs. We think we can march, you know, 300 to 600 students a year through here from all over the country. And hopefully a lot of them are going to end up working in Oregon for UAS companies in Oregon.
Well, thank you, Steve. Because we're over time, we should probably take the rest of the questions via email. If you send the questions to me, I will get them to the speakers and we can get some answers. We may have some follow-on sessions later in the year or next year to cover this in more detail. We have several aviation professionals on the call today, but we have a lot of people from around the state who their basic exposure to aviation airplanes are Portland International, Eugene, Redmond, Menford, maybe a commuter out of Pendleton. But to think that we have 97 airports, each could represent an economic engine. And you've heard from companies today that although they've suffered a little bit from the corona, some of them are doing quite well. We think there's a phenomenal future in aviation with existing aircraft, with the hybrid and electric aircraft, the possibility of rural air service, and the drone industry has just exploded. So I'd like to thank all of you for attending. We had as many as 80 on today. What I'd like to propose for those who want to hang around and network, unmute yourselves and ask questions of each other. And I'll keep this open as long as the last person is standing out there. So unmute yourself and go ahead and continue going as long as you would like to.
Well, Jake, first of all, thank you so much for putting this all together and being the proctor for this whole organizational meeting. I certainly do appreciate it, as I think I'm speaking for everyone else. You have done a wonderful job, and thank you as always. Unfortunately, folks, I must get going. Our beloved founder, Mr. Van Grunsman, is seeking my attention. So in any event, again, everyone, thank you so much for attending. And once this COVID thing is over, we'd love to have each and every one of you come here to visit us at Van's Aircraft. So everyone, take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks as well. I appreciate the folks who were able to stick around. I know I was kind of late at the end of the presentation, but pleasure to see you all and glad folks could listen in. I've got to get going too. I'm 20 minutes late for the next meeting, but I appreciate the opportunity, Jake. It's good to see you and it's good to see everyone on the call. So thank you very much.
Nice job, Jake. Fascinating speakers. That was really good.
Thank you.
Jake, this is Joe.
Hello, Joe.
I just want to say I don't see how it could have been better.
Thank you.
Just really, everybody just, and the technology, not a glitch, amazing.
Well, our speakers are technical people and they did practice. And we're hoping that we showed the general public the value of aviation in Oregon today and in the future.
I
Thank
sure
you
hope
to
so.
our speakers.
Hey, Jake, it's Aaron. How is Oregon Business Plan going to have this on their website? And I assume it's recorded.
Yes, they will.
And have they, do you get any sense from them where this is going in terms of other groups and whether it's going to come together as more than the individual pieces?
Andrew Desmond, who represents the Oregon Business Plan, is online, if he's still with us. Andrew, are you still here? Anyway, this will be posted on the Oregon Business Plan's website. We will continue to be their cluster group representing aviation. And when we get back to physical meetings, we'll be doing this in person with breakout sessions at the convention. The other industry groups, Technology Association of Oregon had a presentation a couple weeks ago. This is ours. There'll be 2 or 3 more. We, as you know, have a food products group, a manufacturing group. They're all part of the cluster concept of the Oregon Business Council to bring companies together, to share technology, to share markets and innovation, and make Oregon one of the #1 organizations and states in aviation across the country.
I have to say it was fun to be part of the group, and I'm sure impressed with things that are going on in other parts of the state. I wish I had been more familiar prior to today, but yeah, just thanks everybody for sharing.
I want to thank the speakers and Jake, a great job for organizing this.
We'll continue to bring aviation community together and continue to promote our positive messages to the outside world. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining our session today. This will be posted within the next couple of days. You'll all receive a link to this video after a little editing, and we'll see you next time around. Bye.